They told you to be realistic. They told you to be careful. They told you not to dream too big. And in those words, spoken by people who never broke free themselves, was the virus. The slow infection of average. Not loud, not violent, but silent, seductive, deadly. Average doesn't knock down your door. It whispers in your ear. It tells you to hit snooze just this once. It tells you, you've done enough for today. It tells you, you're only human. And that's how it wins. Not with force, but with permission. Your permission. Every empire that fell, every dream that died in the hands of its creator, every talent that withered without ever touching its full bloom, was poisoned first by the idea that good enough was good enough. But I'll tell you something most people won't. Average is not neutral. Average is not harmless. Average is the enemy. Because average is the slow death of greatness. It's the silent killer of your potential. And the worst part? It wears a mask of normalcy. It hides behind comfort, behind convenience, behind the lies we tell ourselves to justify a smaller life. You weren't born to be average. You weren't designed to blend into a beige world painted in excuses and delays. You were born on fire. And every time you play it safe, you pour water on that fire. Look at the lives of the legends. Ford didn't stop when they called him crazy. Edison didn't quit at the 10,000th failure. Disney was rejected 302 times before someone believed in his vision. Do you think they cared about being average? No. They were possessed by purpose, driven by vision, fueled by clarity. But clarity doesn't come from waiting. It doesn't fall into your lap while you scroll, while you wait for the weekend, while you make peace with a life that doesn't inspire you. Clarity is earned, forged in the fire of discipline, discovered in the battlefield of decision. You see, most people are not fighting for greatness. They're defending mediocrity. They build entire identities around staying the same. And when someone dares to want more, they mock it. They call it arrogant. They call it selfish. Because it terrifies them to see someone become what they were too afraid to attempt. Average is the enemy. Because it's safe. Because it asks nothing of you. Because it tells you that effort without excellence is somehow noble. But the truth? There is nothing noble about playing small. Nothing righteous about burying your gift under fear. Nothing brave about ignoring your calling. You are here for something massive. Something sacred. Something that demands all of you. Not the diluted version. Not the comfortable version. Not the maybe someday version. All of you. And the world is waiting. Not for perfection. Not for permission. But for proof. That there are still people left who will not bow to average. People who will rise, even when the cost is sleep, comfort, or applause. People who will refuse to hand over their potential to the enemy of average. So if you've ever wondered why your soul feels restless, why there's this ache inside that doesn't go away, it's because you weren't built for mediocrity. You weren't meant to cope. You were meant to conquer. But you must choose it. You must declare war on the part of you that settles. Because that part won't go quietly. It will fight for its life. It will disguise itself as logic, as safety, as humility. But it is not your friend. It is your chain, your ceiling, your silence. And if you don't kill it, it will kill your greatness. Success isn't reserved for the chosen. It's claimed by the obsessed. Not the interested. Not the curious. The obsessed. The ones who would rather bleed than blend in. The ones who'd rather be ridiculed than be average. Because when you are truly called, ridicule becomes fuel. Doubt becomes sharpening steel. And failure? Failure becomes the unpaid teacher that no university can replace. They will call you extreme. Good. They will say you've changed. Perfect. Because staying the same in a world that celebrates mediocrity is nothing short of betrayal. Betrayal of your destiny. Betrayal of your gift. Betrayal of the millions of moments that shaped you into someone capable of more. Let the world chase balance. Let the critics chase comfort. You were born to chase fire. You were born to be uncommon. But to break free, you must first break yourself. Break the addiction to approval. Break the habit of hesitation. Break the need for certainty before commitment. Because the truth is, you'll never feel ready. That's a lie whispered by average to keep you from acting. Greatness begins when you move before you feel prepared. When you leap without a guarantee. When you commit without applause. That's what separates the remembered from the forgotten. Not talent, not luck, but the courage to go all in while everyone else is still waiting for a sign. Listen to me. You don't need a sign. You are the sign. Listen to me. You don't need a sign. You are the sign. The moment you decide that average is no longer acceptable, the moment you burn the bridge back to who you were, that's the moment the universe shifts. Opportunities move. People appear. Doors crack open not because they were unlocked, but because you became the key. Discipline is your sword. Obsession is your shield. And clarity? Clarity is the fire that lights the battlefield ahead. But most will never find it. Because clarity doesn't live in comfort. Clarity isn't born on the couch. Clarity is the reward for movement, for risk, for facing your dragons even when your hands are shaking. You think Carnegie built an empire because he had a blueprint? He built it because he had belief. You think Lincoln held a nation together because he had certainty? He held it because he had conviction. You think Oprah rose from nothing because she had perfect conditions? She rose because she refused to settle for average. That refusal was her superpower, and it can be yours. But it will demand your life, the death of your excuses, the burial of your distractions, the destruction of the parts of you that whisper. Maybe next year. Maybe when it's easier. Maybe after you've figured it all out. No, the war with average must begin now. Because every second you delay, that enemy grows stronger. Not out there, but inside you. You want a different life? Then you must become a different person. A person who chooses discomfort over delay. Who chooses discipline over doubt. Who chooses action over everything. And you'll fall. Of course you'll fall. But average never even tries. Average fears failure more than it desires freedom. But not you. You are not average. Because average wouldn't be listening to this. Average wouldn't feel the fire rising in their chest right now. Average would have already quit. You didn't. And that alone makes you dangerous. Because once you taste what it's like to walk with purpose, to move with power, to wake up knowing that you're not wasting this life, you can never go back. Not without dying inside. The real enemy isn't failure. The real enemy is settling. Settling for half dreams, halfway effort, halfway lives. Lives designed for survival, not significance. You weren't born to survive. You were born to ignite. To walk into rooms and change the temperature. To speak and awaken dead ambition in others. To build things that outlast you. But average will seduce you. It comes wrapped in comfort, cloaked in convenience. It offers you a soft pillow and tells you you're doing enough. But enough is a lie. It's the velvet coffin where dreams go to die. It's the lullaby that rocks your potential to sleep. And the world? The world will cheer you on as you decay slowly. Because when you rise, you remind them of what they could have been. And nothing threatens the mediocre more than the one who dares to rise. That's why most people won't support you. Not because they hate you. Because they hate what your discipline reveals about their laziness. Because your obsession exposes their excuses. Your hunger makes their comfort uncomfortable. Let them be uncomfortable. Let them mock. Let them doubt. Your job is not to convince them. Your job is to become undeniable. Be the kind of person they can't ignore. Be the kind of force that history remembers. Not because you asked for it, but because you earned it. In silence, in struggle, in the shadows when no one was watching. Do you want to know what real freedom is? It's not money. It's not fame. It's the ability to wake up and trust yourself. To look in the mirror and know that you're doing the damn work. That you're not waiting. That you're not hiding. That you're not making love to mediocrity and pretending it's ambition. Because success doesn't respond to wishes. It responds to warriors. Those willing to pay the price. To go where others won't. To sacrifice what others won't even consider. Do you think Ford became a pioneer because he was gifted? He was ridiculed, mocked, told his vision was madness. But he knew. And that knowing, that relentless belief, was louder than the world's laughter. So what's your excuse? Is it fear? Good. Fear is the signal. It tells you where to go, not where to stop. Let fear become your fuel. Let it sharpen your edge. Let it remind you that the life you want lies on the other side of everything you're afraid to face. Because here's the truth most will never tell you. Success isn't fair. It doesn't visit the most talented. It visits the most committed. The ones who show up broken but refuse to break. The ones who get knocked down and still stand with fire in their eyes. The ones who will never, under any circumstance, bow to average. You say you want it? Then prove it. Not to the world. Not to your friends. Not to your haters. To yourself. Prove it by the way you wake up. Prove it by the way you grind when no one sees. Prove it by the way you stay hungry even after you've eaten. Because the enemy of greatness isn't failure. It's success without purpose, comfort without challenge. A good life that seduces you into never building a great one. Comfort will dress itself like success. It will whisper in your ear, "You've done enough. You're better than most. Why keep pushing?" But most is not the measure. The measure is the man or woman you were born to become. And until you meet that version face to face, you fight, you push, you climb, you bleed if you have to. Because what's the alternative? A quiet life full of hidden regret. A future you survive but never command? Let the world call you obsessed. Let them laugh while you build in silence. They mocked Edison too. 10,000 failures before he lit the world. 10,000 reasons to quit. He didn't need one. Because he refused to die average. Lincoln was born into poverty. He buried his first love. He lost elections again and again. But he never lost himself. Because vision burns brighter than pain. Look around. Everyone's trying to go viral. Everyone wants it fast. A shortcut. A hack. But here's what no one wants to admit. You can't microwave greatness. You earn it in the furnace. And that furnace? It's built with discipline. It's fired by purpose. And it burns away the weak parts of you until only power remains. You know what average people fear the most? Loneliness. The silence of the climb. The isolation that comes with choosing your future over their approval. But hear me. That silence is sacred. That loneliness. It's not a curse. It's a corridor. A corridor to clarity. To power. To the real you. If you want to be great, get used to walking alone. There will be seasons when no one understands you. When even those closest will beg you to slow down. Not because they're evil, but because your fire makes their comfort feel like a cage. You will scare people, not with your rage, but with your relentlessness. Not with your noise, but with your discipline. Average is noisy. It needs to talk, needs to prove, needs to show off. But greatness? Greatness is silent. Greatness doesn't announce itself. It arrives. It doesn't shout. It shakes the earth with its presence. And that presence is earned one brutal day at a time. In the cold mornings when you train alone. In the nights when you study while others sleep. In the moments when you choose vision over validation. This isn't for everyone. Let them scroll. Let them laugh. Let them chase attention. You chase mastery. You build something deeper. Something the algorithms can't measure. Something time can't erase. Because there's a difference between being seen and being remembered. And if you want to be remembered, you must do what the average mind refuses to do. Sacrifice now for what will echo forever. They'll tell you to be realistic, to be practical, to slow down, to fit in, to just be grateful. And yes, gratitude is a force, but it was never meant to be an excuse to settle. You can be grateful and still hungry. Gratitude doesn't mean you stop climbing. It means you remember what's worth the climb. But average twists gratitude into laziness. It uses enough as a weapon to stop you from discovering how far you can truly go. It tells you the mountaintop is selfish. That chasing legacy is ego. That ambition is toxic. But they forget. Ambition built the world. Tesla's obsession with energy changed how we live. Wright brothers crashed again and again just to touch the sky. Henry Ford looked at a world of horses and saw an empire of engines. If they had listened to average, you'd still be riding to work on a donkey. Let me ask you something. Who told you your dream was too big? Who whispered in your childhood ear that you were too much? Who taught you to fear your own greatness? Whoever it was, they lied. Not out of hatred, but out of limitation. They gave you their ceiling and called it a roadmap. They passed on their own chains and labeled it love. But now it's your turn. Your turn to break it. To destroy the inheritance of mediocrity. To reject the cycle and become the first in your family to rise. To build. To believe without needing proof. To say, it ends with me. Yes, that will make you a target. Yes, you'll be misunderstood. But legacy isn't built in comfort. It's built in the trenches, where you trade weekends for work, distraction for discipline, pleasure for purpose. And what will you gain? Power. A power that can't be faked or bought. A power that doesn't scream, but commands. You'll start to feel it in your stride, in the way you speak, in the way you walk into a room and people feel something different. Not arrogance, but alignment. Because when a human being is aligned with their mission, They become unstoppable. Not loud, not desperate, but clear. Clarity cuts through noise. Clarity builds momentum. Clarity turns effort into exponential results. That's what the average man never discovers. He works hard, but he's not aligned. He runs fast, but in circles. He has potential, but no fire. Because fire doesn't come from wishing. It comes from demanding. From holding yourself to a higher standard than the world expects. From waking up and declaring, I will not die with music still in me. That's the truth they never taught in school. That greatness is not talent. It's not luck. It's not a gift. It is a war. A war between who you are and who you refuse to be. A war between your highest calling and your lowest habits. And every day you rise early, stay focused, stay hungry. You are winning that war. Not against the world. Not against others. But against the average version of you. The one that says, good enough, when you were born for great. The real war isn't out there. It's in here. It's not fought with fists or flags, but with decisions. Thousands of silent, invisible decisions that stack up behind your name. Until one day, the world calls you lucky. But you weren't lucky. You were disciplined. You didn't win once. You won 1,000 times. In the dark, when no one clapped. That's the truth average never understands. Average wants applause before the work. Average wants results without repetition. Average wants comfort now, and greatness never. But not you. Because something in you refused to settle. Something in you woke up and said, I'm not here to survive. I'm here to build. To conquer. To redefine what's possible. That voice. That's your true self. That's the version of you that average fears. Because average doesn't die with a single decision. It dies slowly. With every ignored excuse. With every alarm you don't snooze. With every moment you lean into purpose instead of pleasure. This is not the age of victims. This is the age of ownership. No more blaming the system. No more pointing fingers. You were handed a life. And what you do with it is your declaration. You either build or you break. You either rise or you rot. You either own it or you stay owned by it. And here's the thing they won't tell you. Success doesn't feel like magic. It feels like sacrifice. Like saying no when everyone else says yes. Like missing parties to plan your empire. Like studying when others sleep. Like bleeding for a vision nobody sees but you. And that is the difference. Average waits for permission. Greatness creates the permission. Average needs support to act. Greatness acts and becomes the support. So no, you don't need more motivation. You don't need another quote. You need a decision. One decision that says, I'm done living below my potential. I'm done pretending I don't care. I'm done calling normal a badge of honor. Because average has infected society like a virus. And the cure isn't in policy. It's not in politics. It's in people. One soul at a time, waking up and saying, no more. No more mediocre friendships. No more junk thoughts. No more mental clutter. No more small goals that insult the fire in my chest. You want to change your life? Then raise your standard. Not your dream, your standard. Because we don't get what we wish for. We get what we tolerate. And the average person tolerates too much. Too much doubt. Too much delay. Too much fake confidence and real confusion. But the elite, the obsessed, they demand more. They walk with urgency. They train like it matters, because it does. They execute like their legacy depends on it, because it does. You don't rise by accident. You rise by design. You rise by taking full responsibility for everything. And that is where average dies. In the face of responsibility. Because the minute you own your life, you take away every excuse. You take away, I'm too tired. You take away, I don't have time. You take away, I wasn't born for this. And you replace it with, let's go. You say you want greatness? Then you better be ready to bleed for it. Because greatness is not glamorous. It's grinding. It's walking alone. It's being misunderstood. It's being laughed at until you're studied. You think Carnegie cared if they mocked his ideas? You think Edison stopped at failure number 10? Number 100? You think Oprah, Lincoln, Mandela, Musk, Disney, you think any of them were chasing average? No. They declared war on it. They stared average in the face and said, get out of my way. Because when you realize average is the true enemy, you stop being polite with your potential. You stop entertaining distractions, doubts, and deadweight. You cut the fat. You cut the noise. You cut every single thing that pulls you away from your vision, no matter how familiar or comfortable it may feel. Comfort is the cage, and every time you choose it over courage, you reinforce the bars that keep you stuck. Success? It demands warrior energy, not weekend hype, not temporary inspiration, but a soul-level commitment that says, I will show up, even when it's boring, even when I fail, even when nobody claps, even when my bank account says I'm crazy. Because discipline is louder than doubt. Purpose is stronger than pain. And vision? Vision will carry you when motivation dies. The world doesn't reward the average. It rewards the relentless, the unreasonable, the obsessed. You want to change your life? Get unreasonable about your standards. Raise your identity. Stop acting like a spectator in your own story. You're not here to watch others win. You're here to build your own empire. And don't let anyone convince you that wanting more is selfish. The truth is, your mediocrity serves no one. Your laziness does not help the world. Your excuses don't feed your family. Your potential isn't a decoration, it's a debt. And every day you choose average, you add to that debt. But when you choose excellence, you pay it forward. You inspire your children. You elevate your circle. You become living proof that it's possible. Average is contagious, but so is greatness. And the moment you step into your highest self, others feel it. Because true leadership isn't about titles. It's about energy. It's about walking into a room and making people believe they can rise too. Not because you said it, but because you are it. So ask yourself right now, what are you tolerating? What average patterns have you made peace with? What lies have you accepted as reality? It's time to break the contract. It's time to tear up the agreement you made with mediocrity. The one that said, I'll play small so others aren't uncomfortable. I'll stay quiet so no one thinks I'm arrogant. I'll settle because maybe this is all I'm worth. Lies. All of it. Lies sold by people who gave up on themselves and want you to do the same. But you're not built for a life of quiet desperation. You're built for legacy. And legacy doesn't come from comfort. It comes from commitment. You were not born to be ordinary. You were born to carve your name into history. And that means you've got to live by a different code. Not the code of the crowd, but the code of conviction. The crowd wakes up and checks their phone. You wake up and check your mission. The crowd talks about problems. You solve them. The crowd waits for permission. You give yourself the green light. You don't need validation when you have vision. You don't need applause when you have alignment. You don't need comfort when you're chasing conquest. See, average people don't realize this. The pain of discipline is temporary. The pain of regret? Eternal. And every time you choose what's easy, you push your future self deeper into a life they'll hate. You think skipping the gym, avoiding the work, postponing the risk doesn't matter? It all compounds. Every ignored opportunity, every delayed action, every excuse you dress up as logic, it compounds into a life that falls far below your potential. And you feel it. You feel it when your head hits the pillow. You feel it in the quiet moments. You feel it in that subtle voice inside saying, this isn't it. You were made for more. And that voice, it will never go away. Because it's the echo of your real self, trying to shake you awake. So let me ask you, how many times will you silence that voice before you finally listen? How long will you wait to act like your future matters? Because here's the truth most people will never accept. Your future isn't a matter of chance. It's a matter of choice. Success doesn't come to the most talented. It comes to the most committed. The ones who decide, I don't care how long it takes. I don't care how hard it gets. I will not be another name lost to the fog of mediocrity. And those people, they don't just win. They change the game. Because average never built an empire. Average never sparked a revolution. Average never became immortal. So if you're sick of feeling stuck, if you're done with the cycles of almost starting, almost believing, almost living, then make the decision. Burn the bridges back to average. Delete the excuses. Starve the distractions. Feed the dream. And you know what the dream demands? Everything. Not what's convenient. Not what's comfortable. But everything. It wants your early mornings. It wants your late nights. It wants your fears, your doubts, your blood, your soul. It wants the version of you that no longer tolerates average in any form. Not in your habits. Not in your standards. Not in your relationships. Not in your thoughts. Because you can't think average and live extraordinary. You can't act like the masses and expect to lead them. You can't serve your purpose while worshiping your comfort. This isn't just about success. It's about becoming unrecognizable to the person you used to be. Not just richer, not just stronger, but reborn. You are here to rise. Not slightly, not slowly, violently, like a phoenix tearing through the ashes of who you were. So stand up. Reclaim your time. Reclaim your identity. Reclaim your damn soul from the grip of average. And show the world what happens when a human being wakes up on fire. This war with average, it ends the moment you refuse to go back. Back to playing small. Back to shrinking your voice. Back to second-guessing your fire every time it makes someone else uncomfortable. Back to hiding your potential behind polite mediocrity. Back to living on default when you were made for design. You didn't come this far to halfway live. You didn't go through hell just to settle in purgatory. You didn't survive all that pain just to become a passive observer in your own story. You came here to own the pen, to write your legend, to become unforgettable. But hear me, that requires the death of the old you. The version addicted to excuses. The one obsessed with approval. The one who kept saying one day while life slipped by in inches. That version doesn't belong in your next chapter. That version dies today. And in its place, you rise. With fire in your lungs. With steel in your mind. With thunder in your voice, and a cause so powerful it terrifies your doubt. Because when your reason is big enough, your excuses lose their grip. When your mission burns brighter than your fear, no voice of criticism can stop you. When you finally decide, the universe shifts. The doors that were locked before, they swing open. The strength you thought you didn't have, it awakens. The clarity you were chasing, it floods in like light breaking through a storm. Because you don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. And when you become unshakable, when you become disciplined, when you become obsessed with rising above average, you don't have to chase success. It finds you, but not because you waited. Because you worked. Because you bled. Because you looked in the mirror and said, I will not live another day beneath my calling. And make no mistake, your calling isn't comfort. It's not approval. It's not even happiness. It's greatness. And greatness comes with a cost. Loneliness. Sacrifice. Judgment. Sleepless nights. Doubt so loud it feels like thunder in your veins. But that's the toll. That's the price. That's what separates the ones who say they want it from the ones who become it. Because while average begs for relief, greatness demands responsibility. And the moment you accept that truth, you become dangerous, not to others, but to the mediocrity that once lived inside you. You become a threat to every excuse, every old pattern, every fear that thought it had the final word. Because now you see it. You feel it. You know it. You were never meant to live an average life. You were meant to lead, to build, to burn, to believe in something so deeply that you'd rather die on your feet than live on your knees. You don't fear failure anymore, because you've finally realized the real failure is a life unlived. They'll try to tell you it's too much, that you're doing too much, pushing too hard, wanting too big. They'll say you've changed, and they'll be right. You have changed, because average no longer feels like home. Comfort feels like a cage, and you've tasted too much truth to ever go back to pretending. You're not chasing money. You're chasing meaning. You're not obsessed with winning. You're obsessed with becoming. And when becoming your highest self becomes non-negotiable, you're not just dangerous. You're unstoppable. Because now, every weakness is a lesson. Every failure is data. Every setback is fuel. And every critic, just background noise in a symphony of destiny. You don't need permission anymore. Not from the world. Not from your past. Not even from the scared version of you still whispering doubts from the shadows. That voice is done. Because now, the roar of your purpose drowns out the noise of your fear. And the more you listen to that roar, the more you realize you were born for this. For the climb. For the fire. For the impact that only you can make. They won't understand your hunger. They won't see the hours you put in when no one was watching. The nights you cried but kept working. The mornings you felt empty but still showed up. But success doesn't require applause. It requires obsession. It requires vision. And it requires the courage to walk alone until the world catches up. Because the truth is, most people will never get it. They'll never see the war you fight within. The mental battles. The self-doubt. The weight of your own expectations. But you carry it anyway. Because your standard isn't average. It's excellence. Your life isn't about checking boxes. It's about building cathedrals with your spirit, leaving behind a legacy carved in sweat, grit, and unwavering vision. You weren't put here to repeat history. You were put here to rewrite it, to be the first, the one who broke the curse, the one who said, "It ends with me." So let the world stay comfortable. Let them laugh. Let them doubt. Because while they watch, you build. While they sleep, you grind. While they talk, you move. And brick by brick, you rise. Until one day, the world has no choice but to ask how you did it. And you'll smile, not because you need the praise, but because you already know. The war was won the day you decided that average was no longer an option. You want to know what separates the great from the forgotten? It's not talent. It's not luck. It's not even opportunity. It's the refusal to settle. It's the man who trains like he's losing, even when he's winning. It's the woman who keeps sharpening her sword, even when the battle looks over. It's the relentless, irrational, unbreakable belief that you are meant for more. See, average is seductive. It whispers things like, "You've done enough. You've worked hard. You deserve to rest." But greatness doesn't rest. It regenerates. It reinvents. It evolves. Because those who change the world are always under construction. There's no final form. No mountaintop where you plant your flag and say, "I've arrived." Because when you're truly driven, every summit reveals a higher peak. Every win uncovers a deeper mission. Every level unlocks a stronger version of you. This is why average must die. Because average tells you to pause when you should press. It tells you to wait when you were born to lead. It tells you to settle when the fire in your chest is begging you to soar. You are not here to live someone else's script. You are not here to fit in. You are not here to do enough to get by. You are here to burn so bright that even your shadows leave a legacy. You're here to shake the ground when you walk, to make the air around you charged with purpose, to speak and have the universe listen. That's what happens when you declare war on mediocrity. When you no longer negotiate with the inner voices that keep you small. When you stop asking for directions from people who've never left the ground. You become the storm, not the one who waits for perfect conditions, but the one who creates them. Because deep down, you already know. This isn't just about success. It's about who you become on the way there. It's about breaking the cycle for your bloodline. It's about proving to your younger self that the pain was not in vain. It's about rising so high that your very existence gives others permission to rise. Average is the enemy, because your soul was built for immortality. Not the kind etched on tombstones, but the kind that echoes in generations. So stand tall, raise your standards, and remember this. You don't get what you wish for. You get what you demand of yourself. And when you demand greatness, life doesn't give you success. It has no choice but to kneel before you.